What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And I want to start off by apologizing for coming out a little bit late with my breakdown of the Kansas City Chiefs win over the Carolina Panthers this past weekend. As many of you know, I am also in the United States military. That's what I do for my regular everyday job. And I'm actually on leave this week, back at home with the family for the Thanksgiving holiday. And typically when I am on leave with the family, I do not put as much time into my YouTube as I would like to. But I definitely wanted to make a little bit of time to discuss the Kansas City Chiefs performance versus the Carolina Panthers this past Sunday. Look, last second field goal to take down the 3-7 Carolina Panthers. Not really how you wanted to see it play out, but a win is a win. And I've said this many times already this year, but after what happened last season and the lows that we saw the Kansas City Chiefs hit and how I left them for dead and said they're not winning a Super Bowl this year, I just couldn't see it happening. There's no scenario, no world in which they can come back from this. They ended up defying the odds and winning the Super Bowl. And I said from there on, I'm not going to spend too much time doing the whole regular season freak out thing that I tend to do every year. And a lot of other people tend to do every year. I've just learned, I've matured as a fan, and I've learned that, hey, the Chiefs are just trying to get through the regular season. But that said, I do have some concerns. So, was this past Sunday just another typical Chiefs slugfest playing down a competition, just trying to escape with the win? Or was this cause for deeper concern? Typically, I would lean on the side of this being just one of those games for the Chiefs, but not really too much to look into. Hey, this is just kind of what they do, trying to escape with the win. It's not pretty. It's frustrating. It's not entertaining football to watch, and you never want to be in a nail biter with a team as bad as the Carolina Panthers. Typically, that's the side I would lean on. However, what I saw as far as body language, what I heard from the team, Patrick Mahomes after the game, and some of the stats that I've looked into, I think yesterday actually was a cause for some deeper concern beyond just the Chiefs not really getting up for this game. I think that there are some major problems with this team right now that have to get resolved. And my guy, Carrington Harrison, who I reference a lot on this show, he does The Drive for Kansas City Sports Radio. He even pointed this out a ton the day that the Chiefs played the Carolina Panthers, essentially saying that this is different. You could just tell, even looking at the body language of the team after the game. You can go and look at the clips from the locker room, Andy Reid's speech after the win. Everyone in that locker room kind of looked really disappointed. I believe Nate Taylor of The Athletic even talked about how a lot of players sat at their lockers kind of in disgust of their performance. I remember Juwan Taylor specifically being a player that he mentioned. The players kind of held their heads low walking off the field, despite that they won. You know, typically when you win on a last-second field goal, no matter who it is, it's like, you know, you're jumping for joy. I mean, look what happened a few weeks ago when the Chiefs blocked that field goal against the Broncos. I mean, that would have been a bad loss. And granted, the Broncos have been playing better as of recently, but, like, you know, typically you're excited no matter what to win a game on a last-second field goal. But this team was disgusted with its own performance. And that there alone tells me that yesterday was not what they expected at all to happen, yet it did. And that's because that there are problems with this team, and they're not performing up to their standard right now. They treated that win as if it was a loss. And I want to pull this quote that Carrington Harrison posted on his Twitter timeline. This was Patrick Mahomes following that Panthers game. "You want to have some blowouts," Mahomes said after the Chiefs beat the Carolina Panthers 30-27 on rookie Spencer Schrader's 31-yard field goal as time expired. "You want to be a little calmer in the fourth quarter. I've always said it can be a good thing as you get to the playoffs and later in the season, just knowing that you've been in those moments before and knowing how to kind of attack it. But I would love to win a game before the very last play." Again, that tells you right there Right there, that tells you that yesterday was not scripted for the Kansas City Chiefs. Or I say yesterday, it's Tuesday now. Sunday. It was not scripted for the Kansas City Chiefs for the game to end like that. This was not a game in which they thought they would take any result, as long as it was a win. No, they were upset with that result. They wanted that game to be over by the fourth quarter. But it wasn't, because they're not playing well. Because there are major holes on this team right now. And I'm going to talk about those holes in a second. But right now, I just want to emphasize the point that what happened on Sunday, this was not just a classic, a win is a win scenario. No, this Kansas City Chiefs team is pissed at its own performance right now. Patrick Mahomes even went out of his way to say that. Because don't you guys think that the Chiefs would love to have a game where they're beating the other team so bad by the fourth quarter that they're just able to pull the starters instead of having the starters play the entire game? Don't you think they would love to have a game in which they can get all the young guys the playing time they need without any fear of losing the game because they're trying to get those guys experience? I mean, like Mahomes said, you want some blowouts. You want to be able to put some bad teams in their place, but this Chiefs team just isn't good enough to do that. They haven't been all year. There's been a lot of luck involved in their record so far. Yes, they had the best record in football, but I've said this before, and I'm not complaining about the record. I mean, I'm glad that they're 10-1, but there's been a lot of luck involved. They could have easily lost to the Broncos. They could have easily lost to the Bucs if the coin toss goes the other way. They could have easily lost to the Chargers. A couple plays go differently, and this Chiefs team is in a lot different of a situation. They're lucky to be where they're at right now, and it feels like they're playing with fire. And that they're, at some point, if they keep playing like this, going to lose sole possession of that number one seed, and they're no longer going to control their own destiny. And that would be a huge blow, a huge development for the season, because I think this team needs that bye week prior to the postseason. They need that bye week. But let's talk about why the Kansas City Chiefs are playing this way, or why they look like this. What are the problems? What is causing this right now? Because I've done a little bit of digging on some of the numbers, and there's some things that I'm still seeing that really upset me. So let's start actually with the defense, because I think that is the most concerning side of the football right now. Offense, they have reinforcements coming. They're supposed to get Isaiah Pacheco back. Hollywood Brown looks like he's going to be returning sooner than later. That's going to give you a lot of speed and a lot of juice that you didn't have on offense before. D-Hop's still getting integrated. I think Kareem Hunt will be more efficient being a 1-2 punch with Isaiah Pacheco. I think Xavier Worthy's only going to continue to get better, and he definitely showed some positive signs again against the Carolina Panthers. So the offensive side of the ball, I do have that hope that they're going to get it figured out. But defensively, let's just say it, guys. It's been about a 4-week sample size now. We can say it. This defense is not the same as it was without Jalen Watson. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it's been bad. This defense has been bad without Jalen Watson. And particularly, they've been really bad on third down. And that's where it's really getting them killed, because the Chiefs' run defense still remains pretty much elite. I mean, they're pretty good at stopping the run. Now, they weren't as great in this game against the Carolina Panthers, at least from the eye test. I thought Chuba Hubbard got some big runs on them, and that set up some easier third downs for the Carolina Panthers. But really what the Chiefs' problem has been as of lately is they've been stopping those first and second down runs and getting these teams in third and long, but then the Chiefs are just getting killed in third and long. And Bryce Young, I think he's been better since his initial benching, but he should never look like that. And you know what you're going to see now is a bunch of people saying Bryce Young is back. Oh man, Bryce Young is improving. Carolina Panthers may have something here, but I wouldn't buy that for 1 second. Because this is what the Chiefs defense does. I mean, it's almost like that Jets game last year, where the Jets played the Kansas City Chiefs really close with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And I believe it was Sunday Night Football. Chiefs won the game, but it had everyone fooled that Zach Wilson may have something when he really never did. I just don't think that Bryce Young is this good. It's just that the Chiefs defense is in a really bad spot right now. And why is that? Well, let's start with this. Pass rush still continues to be a major, major issue for this team. They can't get home with 4. They can't even get home with the blitz. Even the blitzes aren't working. When you blitz and it's unsuccessful, that's really bad because you're sacrificing on the back end every time you blitz. But if your guys aren't even getting home on the blitz, then it's going to get you killed. And I see this conversation coming up again about Chris Jones. I talked a little bit about this last week. People all of a sudden want to blame Chris Jones because you look at the sack numbers and Chris Jones he's not where you want him to be as far as sacks go, but the more important numbers are pressure rate, pass rush win rate, double team rate. Chris Jones is among the very best in the league in all of those categories. The pass rush is not Chris Jones's fault. It's Mike Dana's. It's George Karlaftis's. It's FAU's. Chris Jones is not getting any help on the edges. Chris Jones is still drawing double teams, sometimes triple teams. If you watch that Panthers game at all closely and just kept your eyes on Chris Jones, guys, he's getting double teamed damn near every play. And the Panthers are daring the Chiefs' edges to do something, and they can't. Now, credit to the Carolina Panthers. They've done a nice job building their offensive line, and that actually is a strength of their team right now. Some of their young guys are starting to figure it out. But it shouldn't look that easy for them. It should never look that easy for them. The Chiefs' pass rush has been a failure so far on the edges. You can't blame Chris Jones. I'm sorry, guys. You don't know ball if you say that. You cannot watch these games and tell me it's Chris Jones' fault. The Chiefs need more out of George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, and FAU. And this is what I warned as well. Now, I understand they'll be getting Charles Omenihu back here probably next week or this weekend. Or I guess it's not even this weekend. It's Black Friday the Chiefs will be playing. They'll be getting Charles Omenihu back, and that'll be a nice boost. And I hope to God he can get back to where he was in 2023 because this Chiefs team needs it. And this is what I warned when the Chiefs signed that relatively big contract to Mike Dana. I said, well, that's starter money right there. But Mike Dana in my head is not a starter because he doesn't win enough of his one-on-ones and pass rush. And that's exactly what you're seeing. Mike Dana has one of the worst pressure rates in the league among starting defensive ends. George Karlaftis is a number 2 defensive end at best, and the Chiefs are treating him like a number 1, and he's not winning enough of his one-on-ones. That is the difference right now. If those guys step up, then the Chiefs pass rush will look a lot better. And I hope that Charles Omenihu is able to add there as well, because the Chiefs need it badly. But that's one of the biggest reasons why the Chiefs defense is taking a step back. Now let's talk about the secondary, and more specifically the pass coverage. The linebackers haven't been great this year in coverage, and that doesn't get talked about much. I did want to touch on that for a second. Drew Tranquill has taken a huge step back in coverage this year. Nick Bolton was never a good coverage linebacker. Leo Chanel, he's athletic, but he's still better playing downhill. I think the Chiefs are really missing someone with the athleticism of Willie Gay and the linebacking core. It's starting to show up a little bit, especially when you have to sacrifice in the secondary because, you have to sacrifice in the secondary because with Jalen Watson's injury, Trent McDuffie is playing more outside or playing against some of the bigger receivers. Najee Johnson, of course, we've seen him enter the rotation, and it's been up and down, more so down than up. And some people are trying to say that he performed well or better against the Carolina Panthers, but he still wasn't great. I mean, he led the team in tackles as a cornerback, which typically isn't a great sign. I want to say he only technically allowed 3 catches for about 40 yards or so. But if you guys watched the game, there were about 3 wide open passes where the receiver had to step on Najee Johnson. They just dropped the ball. I mean, let's make no mistake here. The secondary, the pass defense, the defense overall is worse with Najee Johnson in there instead of Jalen Watson. And I don't want to blame it all on him because part of the blame goes to Brett Veach for not making a move for a cornerback. I mean, everyone saw that this team needed a cornerback, but here's the most jarring stat that I was able to find on the defense that just kind of shows you what the step back has been. Like actually putting this into a number, quantifying how much worse the Chiefs defense has gotten. So this is from Zach Eisen at Zach Eisen21 on Twitter. Since week 8, the Chiefs defense ranks 28th in EPA per play allowed. 28th. They never even entered the bottom 10 in the league in EPA per play allowed when Jalen Watson was in the lineup. And now they have dropped all the way to 28th in the entire league in EPA per play allowed. That is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. I don't know what you do about that. I really don't know what you do about that. I would love to see Joshua Uche play more to help out the pass rush. You acquired him for a reason. And for some reason, he's playing such a low number of the snaps still. I guess that's one thing you could do. But I don't know what you do about corner. Because it's not like you have any help on the horizon. You don't have anyone coming in. You don't have anyone returning from injury. Trade deadline's over. Like, what do you do? I don't know. Because I think that's one of the biggest reasons for the step back. And again, it's not all on Najee Johnson. I put some blame on Brett Veach because we knew this team needed a move at corner. Some people will say, oh, well, what was the move, Josh? Like, what would you have done? Couldn't get Marshawn Lattimore. You got outbid for him. I just, again, will say that I don't believe that Tre'Davious White for a 7th round pick would have been worse than the worst cornerback on the Chiefs. I feel like there were probably guys out there, and there probably are still some free agents, maybe like an Xavier Howard that would be an upgrade over what you have right now in Najee Johnson. And I think Najee Johnson will improve marginally as the season goes on, as he gets more playing time. But for now, he still just kind of is what he is. You know, he is a 7th round pick. He's a special teams player before this situation with Jalen Watson. And you're seeing what happens when a guy like that has to play real snaps at cornerback. And because of that, you have to rotate guys around, which makes you worse everywhere else. Because everyone's like, oh, well, how does one player, completely break the defense? Well, it's because of everything that has to happen after that. When Jalen Watson gets hurt, you have to move McDuffie outside instead of the slot. And then, because of that, to put Najee Johnson in the slot. Because of that, you may sacrifice some coverage ability in the middle of the field. Chamari Connor also has to play big nickel. We've seen that he's been significantly worse since they've moved him there. That's why you're seeing such a huge step back. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. With the defense now being a whole lot worse than it was before and struggling against the Carolina Panthers team, which it should not have struggled against, Bryce Young should never look like that. I don't care if he's improving. He should never look like that against you. This now puts more pressure on the Chiefs offense to get it done. And we are seeing that, well, this Kansas City Chiefs offense isn't built that way. This team, especially after the wide receiver injuries, was built to lean on its defense. But now it doesn't have that elite defense to lean on anymore. We have a big enough sample size now. This Chiefs defense is taking a significant step back. They're a bad defense right now. So what does the offense have to do in order to get this thing figured out? I'm hoping that Pacheco adds a lot more than we even realize. I'm hoping Hollywood Brown is back sooner than later, but also some of this is coaching. I noticed that DeAndre Hopkins is playing less than 50% of the snaps when the snap counts came out on Monday. Why is that? Some have pointed out that, well, with the conditions that the Chiefs put around the draft pick in which they traded to the Titans for DeAndre Hopkins, if he plays a certain number of the snaps, then the Chiefs owe a more valuable draft pick. Now, look, I understand what the Chiefs are trying to do there, but look, you need to play DeAndre Hopkins more. Juju Smith-Schuster and Justin Watson both got more snaps than DeAndre Hopkins on Sunday. I'm sorry, but that's inexcusable at this point. DeAndre Hopkins knows enough of the offense. Get him out there. Use him. You traded for him for a reason. Stop being stingy. Stop being so damn stingy with the day 3 draft pick and play DeAndre Hopkins. I also saw that Travis Kelce is on pace for his highest snap count in his career. In his career, he is on pace to play the most snaps he's ever played in a season. At 35 years old? That's not what we wanted. And I understand injuries happen and Kelce's had to play out of necessity, but that's not keeping him fresh for the postseason. And it also concerns me that Kelsey is on pace for his most snaps played in his career in a season, yet his production looks like it may also be the lowest in a season in his career, which I think is yet another sign that this thing is nearing the end for Travis Kelsey. He doesn't have that much longer left in this league, and you need to find other guys on offense to contribute. And I would have loved to see them use Xavier Worthy more in the Carolina Panthers game, but they seem to go away from him after the first half, even though he did some good things. I don't understand what the plan is half the time. Because as much as the team just isn't performing all that well, the coaches have made some head-scratching decisions as well. And some of the rotations don't really make any sense either. I came into Sunday thinking that Wanya Morris wasn't as big of a problem as people were making him out to be, but now I'm kind of wondering when DJ Humphries is going to be able to play, because DJ Wanham of the Carolina Panthers was eating Wanya Morris's lunch all day. Jawan Taylor didn't look good, and he was committing penalties. The offense just simply has to be better with the step back that the defense has taken. And they actually moved the ball pretty well against the Carolina Panthers. They just were awful in the red zone. And then the penalties, too. My God, don't get me started on the penalties. They were bad. The bottom line is you got to get it cleaned up, because this defense no longer can be leaned on the same way. And that's my biggest thing coming out of this game, is the Chiefs were built to lean on their defense, and the offense could, hold their cards in place until the postseason. But I don't really think you can do that anymore. And that's why this game was unnecessarily close. But it's just kind of funny, because we're all sitting around thinking there's no way that the Chiefs blow this team out, right? Like, this is totally going to end in a game-winning field goal. Now, when we said that, we were all kind of joking, but then it actually happened. But it should never happen. This game should not have been close. You should have won this game comfortably by 2 or 3 scores in the fourth quarter. And that's not what happened. And that's why I think it happened, and those are my bigger picture concerns. I don't think this was another game in which the Chiefs just kind of said, we'll roll our helmets out there and we'll win no matter what. We don't care just as long as we win. No, I mean, they were disgusted with their own performance. So you should be too. And those are my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs win over the Carolina Panthers this past Sunday. So I'll definitely have more. I want to make a video talking more about DJ Humphries since I never got a chance to talk about that move. So I'll try to do that before Thanksgiving and a couple other things, but don't be shocked if I'm not able to get around to it, being home for the holidays. But I appreciate all of you guys who are taking the time to tune in and still listen to my videos. I really appreciate it. So with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. And happy Thanksgiving. Go Chiefs!